Hey, today we're going to do an oil change on my 2006 Rolls-Royce Phantom. Now, you may not have a Rolls-Royce Phantom and you may not have your own oil pit at your own garage, at your own house. But if you do, this is how you change the oil.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're watching Videobob. Aren't you?
I believe it was 1998 that Rolls-Royce and Bentley were split up and sold off. Bentley went to Audi, and Rolls-Royce went to BMW. And then they started putting in their BMW engines, replacing the original Rolls-Royce engine that they used. They pulled an engine out of the BMW 760 Li series, a 6.75 liter V12. This is one hell of a motor. I think it's something like, I don't know, 450, 500 horsepower. I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to look it up. But it's not slow. You got to think this is a 5,500 pound car with a full tank of gas and a couple of fat girls and some Fago. You're rolling 6,000 pounds. So, whereas a lot of people will compare this car to the BMW and the 760, it is not a BMW. Yes, this is a BMW engine, transmission, and computer, but the rest of this car is basically handmade by Rolls-Royce. It's one entire big aluminum chunk. I mean, the car is just one big aluminum piece. These front wings, as they're known, and the front fenders, they are composite. The rear trunk is made of steel. Everything else is made out of either stainless steel, aluminum, leather, or wood. It's actually a very biodegradable car when you think about its recyclability. And that's a whole other talk into politics that we can get into now. But anyway, this car has something like over 70,000 miles on it. I changed the oil myself. I've done videos on this before. I did it on my 2004 Rolls-Royce Phantom, one of my highest viewed videos on this channel. And I thought, let's just do an update on that again. And let's basically show you the oil change on a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Let's get down there and get to work. Now, I already have this cover off because we were doing some other work to the car, but there's a big belly pan cover. It looks like I've got a little bit of oil seepage going on here. And I'm gonna have to figure out where it's coming from. It looks like it's coming up top a little bit. It's just a little tiny bit of oil that's dripping, but this is the cartridge that holds the filter. This is a standard BMW part. I recommend keeping a few of these on hand because it is plastic. If you crack it during removal, you're screwed. They're not very expensive. The cartridge filter that goes in there, you can get a cheap one for like $5 or $10. We're gonna be using the proper man filter. I remember the first time we did the oil change, everybody complained that I was using just some cheap filter, but you gotta be honest, these things are just paper filters. And so they, there's not much to them. Now, I think the recommended oil change intervals for these cars is something like 6,000 miles. I like to do it every 3 to 5. I live here in Las Vegas where you have high heat, so I like to change it more often. Things that we've done on the channel before, if this is your first time watching, is we changed out these lower control arms, we did the brake rotors, pads, we did these front air shocks, we've done some other work to the car. We just got through doing a whole bunch of things to the fuel system. You know, we're working on, we may have to replace these cats here. There's actually several cats on this thing, and we may have to replace these because we had a fuel injector problem that was dumping too much fuel. We replaced the high pressure fuel pumps, and we think we may have burned them up. We're gonna just try to decarbonize them using some cleaner and see if that works. Right now we're using some spacers, but it, you know, we're working on it. It's a project, but the car is actually running great. All right, let's get to this oil change. Now, these cartridges are really easy to do. I keep a toolkit down here just for such occasions. I try to keep everything I can. Like I just went out and bought an entire second set of tools so that I wouldn't have to keep going up and down the ladder over to the toolbox. You know, I mean, I know that's kind of an expense, but this toolkit was only $100. To me, it's worth $100 to have an entire socket set dedicated to just staying down here. Okay, that was easy. All right, just wanted to loosen that up. Now, here's the thing. The drain plug for this oil pan is an Allen key that goes right here. I'm probably gonna have to go get an adapter for that. I totally forgot. And there's no way of draining this without getting it all over this bar. But this is all messy anyway, so we're gonna have to clean it. So let me go grab those. Okay, I got the Harbor Freight Icon series of tools. I think they're one of the best values around. I mean, they don't cost a lot of money and you get a lot of specialty tools. So, you know, if you saw the video that I did on my 1967 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, it uses a special Allen head type key that came with the car. Thankfully on this car, they just use a regular, you know, what is this? This is a, get my light out here. It's a 5/16. All right, and that just goes right in there, and this is gonna drain out. Now, that oil filter that I just loosened does have a secondary drain on the bottom of it that you probably noticed. However, you know, I don't ever use that thing. I just wanna get this loose. Oh, that was a little tighter than I thought it was going to be. Now, if I've learned anything, it's to have your rags and stuff handy, because it'll come pouring out of here. Why am I getting resistance at the very end? Come on. Seriously? That's not cool at all. What a mess. That was a mess. Because of the, I mean, it's all over my arm. God damn it. My cleanup guy is going to be so pissed. That was ridiculous. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I have to really question some of these car designers that is, it's like, oh, how are we going to change the oil? Ah, don't worry about it. It's not even a thing. You think we should make it like easy? No. Let's make it as messy as possible. There's no way of doing that. Look, the thing goes right on the bar, so that's what happens. See, the water hit, the liquid hits that bar, and then it redirects the flow. And the problem is that when you back this little nut out, it's now hitting the bar. I mean, come on. I blame that on on BMW, not Rolls-Royce. But I mean, I am fully, thanks. This is absolutely ridiculous. That's so messy, I'm just going to change these gloves. And I know there's probably some mechanic out there that works for Rolls-Royce or BMW that's going, oh, you did it wrong, blah, 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 blah. Okay. When you get your filter, it's going to come with a nice collection of stuff you need for your oil change. I'll put a link to this man filter. But one of the things you're going to need out of this package is this little crush washer. Come on. So whenever you change your oil, you're going to have this little copper, there it is, little crush washer. It's designed to squish when you tighten this down. And let me go ahead and clean this off with a little bit more. You know, these are supposed to be usually magnetic on the end, so you can check for metal shavings and things. I did not see any. But you want to make sure it's nice and clean so you get a good seal, because if there is any carbon buildup, grit, metal, or anything like that, you want to make sure it's off. Just a little washer goes on there. It's got a few little drippity drips, but we're gonna go ahead and put this back in. I'm gonna go ahead and mount this on the tool. Because there's a lot less of a chance of dropping it when it's attached to the tool. This thing holds something like 9 quarts, I think, of oil. You don't want to over tighten it, but you do need to crush that washer for a good seal. Which is one of the reasons I'm using a shorter handle, not a long handle torque type tool, because I'm sure there's a specific torque specification for that. It's German, good and tight. I'm going to keep using that joke. I'm going to do it every time. I've already pre-loosened this. I should be able to just do this by hand. Yeah. And there's going to be some dripping because I'm not pre-draining this. Unlike that Silver Shadow, there's not a bunch of goofy springs and things like that. There's only the cartridge, which the cartridge stabs up in there and it's going to hold it in. So, God dang it. It keeps wanting to get on my arm. I don't want it on my arm. Oh, there we go. So I didn't get the cartridge with it. It's still there. Oof. That thing is dirty. Boy, it's stuck on there. There we go. Jesus, I got oil everywhere. It's ridiculous. Now, see, now I know why they put the stupid drain on the bottom of it, so you can drain all the oil out of it. So you don't do that. But I'm like, you know, the time it takes to go get the tool, pull that out, change the little seal, just go ahead and make a mess and clean it up. It's like, whatever. I'm not going to use a pick. I'm just going to use this knife to get this old seal off of here. Throw that out. Comes with another one. You know, the reason I use that switchblade, which is it's called a Microtech, I think, Mini Infidel. The reason I use that is because you can operate it with one hand very easily, and there's no risk of ever cutting yourself. Okay, I need to look at this in the light. All right, now one of the things you're going to notice if you ever do this, that seal doesn't go all the way to the bottom. It fits into a little channel. Don't make the mistake of pushing it all the way to the bottom. Make sure it's fitted into that little channel, okay? And we could take a little oil here and rub it on there for lube when we spin it on. But those are some very simple, common mistakes that these Jiffy Lube guys do. And no offense to you if you work at a Jiffy Lube or similar, but you know, you're working with a lot of different vehicles and you're not necessarily trained in any of them. And this is basic knowledge, right? But it's just a common mistake. And a lot of those guys, you know, they're just new mechanics, you know, they're just starting out. And maybe nobody ever told them this stuff. And a simple mistake like that can cost you a $50,000 engine in a car like this. So, just one of those little things. I am not a mechanic or an expert in any of this stuff, okay? I want you to understand that. That is not what I do. All right, so you've got some little clips here at the bottom of this cartridge that snap into the bottom of this carrier. And see how that's nice and firm there. Now, of course, every mechanic is going to tell you you should pre-fill this with oil. All right, Kirkland brand from Costco, 5W30 synthetic oil. I've read some reviews of this oil, and basically it's Mobil 1 made proprietary store. It's called a white label product where they're getting, listen, Costco does not have their own oil refinery in the backyard. Okay, they're buying it from the major manufacturers. And part of how you can usually tell most of the time what product is being copied at a Costco is they will sell that same product as a competitor. They'll do that sort of as kind of a favor with them. They'll say, look, we'll sell your name brand product along with our generic product. And then sometimes they'll actually write on there, compare this to this. So they sell Mobil 1 and they sell this side by side. This is much, much cheaper. There's no way of standing this thing up on its end. So this is going to be a goofy project here. The real way to do this, as a lot of you hardcore old school mechanics will know, is to just pour, when you have a cartridge like this, you just pour a cup of it somewhere and you just let it sit in there and soak, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, here we go. Put this back in. I didn't take out the bottom drain, so I don't need to change that seal. There's people who will do it anyway, but I just, you don't need to. This really could not be simpler. The hardest part of this entire process is taking the belly pan off because it's usually broken. It's plastic. You hit a couple of speed bumps or something here and there, you crack it, and then you're trying to put it back together. This thing you do not want to over tighten. You crack this sumbitch, and you're roasted. That's why I keep spares. Keep a spare. All right. It's plastic. It doesn't, and it's hard. It doesn't give. It breaks. All right, we're other than doing some cleanup and putting the belly pan back on, we're pretty much done under here. I like to spray a little of this silicone spray on any rubber on metal moving parts. Got a feel for the wheel, keep the moving parts clean. Ow! Hot shoe burning down the avenue. Model citizen, zero discipline. Oh yeah, huh? Ow! Panama. Panties off. Ow! Okay. It's Milwaukee. It means the good flashlight.
Subscribe to Videobob because I know where you live, bitch.
Okay. I've got this no spill oil kit that I bought. I used it on the Lexus oil change the other day. It comes with a bunch of colored adapters here. Now I got to figure out which one is for the BMW. Is it the last one? It is the last one. It's the last one, the maroon one. So this little thing snaps into where your oil cap would go. And then this rig right here goes into that. It's just a funnel. It's a really fancy funnel. And then you can pour your oil in. Doop-a-doop-doo. I know this little cup comes in really handy when you're doing an additive, where you've got some kind of bottle, and you'll see. Always save your empties, because Put your old oil in them and take them back to the oil store. Now this car, like I told you, is high mileage, high heat. It is smoking a little bit, just a tiny, tiny bit, which I think is fuel related actually, but in cars like this, and I like to use this Lucas engine oil stop leak and stabilizer, because it is burning a little bit of oil, and it's a BMW. Now, see what I was saying about this little jug here? Because this stuff is like molasses. And you just have to be prepared to waste some of it. And usually you can just stick this bottle right into the oil cavity and let it sit there, but oh look, it's not even moving. That was a mistake. I should have warmed. The trick is you got to warm it up. Sometimes I'll literally like put it, you know, when it's nice and hot outside, you put it outside, you get it nice and hot. But man, it is not even moving. I'd have probably been better off putting the bottle right in there and squeezing it in and let it just sit right there on top of the crankcase. Yes, I do change oil in my Rolex. People are like, I can't believe you would wear such a nice watch doing work. This is the point of these watches. The reason these watches are what they are is they're sports watches. They're worn by like Navy SEALs. They're made for diving down to the depths of the ocean. This is actually a sea dweller. And the Rolex that I wore before I bought this one, which was a two-tone stainless and gold blackface Submariner. Wore that watch for 15 years, every single day, working on cars, built dozens of, you know, time machine cars, Knight Rider cars, Ghostbuster cars, worked on stuff. And yeah, you know, every once in a while you send it off to Rolex and have them polish it, fix it up, or, you know, whatever. I did break it once, but it was because I wasn't wearing it and I dropped it onto the concrete and it broke one of the jewels internally and I had to have that replaced. Ended up doing a pallet fork and, you know, a couple of jewels and everything and had the thing redone. But I got to be where like I really wanted just a plain stainless steel one, and at the time I could not find a regular Submariner, and I ended up getting the Sea Dweller, which is a much bigger watch. Still not draining. I was trying to fill time. But I'm just gonna have to wait. This little cover comes off of here. It just snaps off, and then you pull this out. I started doing it, and then I was like, oh, I should be filming this. This is a cabin air filter, I believe. There we go. Not too bad. This is a MAN filter, again, the official British part. This is a carbon activated, it says. Air filter. Really, that's not bad. But, you know, whatever. Might as well do it. I'm in the middle of doing it. I didn't pay attention to how that came out of there. I think it goes this way. The famous last words. Well, it would make sense to me that those tabs there hold that in. Okay. There we go. Let's make this as difficult as possible. That's all there is to it. Not too difficult. And this thing simply, I like how they've hinged this, because I guess their design was you don't actually take it off, you just lift it up. Yeah, right. And then it just rests under this like that. Oh, I see, there's a little clip on each side. Ta-da! Yeah, this isn't that bad. I mean, I almost feel like not changing it, but we're doing it. Might as well do it. Looks like my other oil drained, so these are 5. We've already put in, that's like 6. So go ahead and fill this up here. Call that 7, 8. Yeah, those just come right off. Ow. Yeah. It seems so simple. That is not dirty. Really. But I've already done it, so might as well just change it. Oh, looky there. Hey, I didn't realize this, but here is the brake fluid filler. Let me get a flashlight and check that. You'll just have to take my word for it that the brake fluid is right here. And really, it's fine. I'm not gonna mess with it. It's perfectly fine. I want to warn you that that brake fluid cap has a sensor wire on it to detect when it's low. It'll let you know when it's low. So be careful when you're jacking around in here that you don't hit that. Like literally every cabin air filter is a pain in the ass. Why? Ugh. For some reason I have a ton of cabin air filters and I don't have jack for engine. I have cabin filters, not engine filters. But you know what? Look at that thing. That's perfectly clean. This is fine. So I don't even need any of these right now. It's perfectly fine. I guess I could be like Card Wizard and taste it. I could probably put in just a tinge more, but I'm gonna run it first and then check it. I'm gonna let the oil get up to temp, and then we'll check it.
I'll take a look under here, make sure nothing's dripping, leaking, and looks good. I don't see any drips coming off of this thing. Everything looks good. It's actually nice and quiet under here. Not catching any exhaust. That little seepage here, that may be coming from this actual gasket. I might put a little tight on that, maybe wrench on it just a tid. And it could be coming up from there or it could be blowing up there, I don't know. But it looks really wet right there, so I'm gonna check these couple of bolts here. Standard Rolls-Royce stuff.
All right, I put a little tiny turn on those bolts. They're pretty much tight, so it could be that seal's just, you know, seeping a bit. Gonna let the engine rest for just a second. Let the oil drain back down. I'm really happy with this little oil change thing. I will put a link in the video description to an affiliate link on Amazon that you can buy one for yourself. I think it's a really cool little item. I've been happy with every time that I've used it. I think it's a great little idea. It definitely cleans up the process. It virtually eliminates the possibility of spilling. I mean, you gotta be a real dolt to mess that up. I mean, look how clean that is. It's a great little system. And when you're dealing with a car like, I mean, this is actually pretty easy access and there's a nice big hole for the oil. But I think it's a really great design and I think it's worth it. That's how I feel about it. Okay, there is one more step. We have to go into the computer and reset the parameters, tell it that we've changed the oil, things like that. So I've got my Autel Maxxis, what is this, 906. Let's go to service, maintenance, condition-based service reset, and you can do a correction of vehicle data. Condition-based service reset, establishing vehicle connection. Now, you know, I had done my, let me go to engine oil here, reset with tool. It's showing that I've had 14 oil services on this car, and it shows engine availability. It says oil at 93%, so we want to reset that. Resetting. And now it's going to indicate that we've had 15 oil changes. Now, let me tell you why. Let me fix this. Let me tell you why that's important. If you were going to buy one of these cars, think about this for a moment. If you had a tool like this and you could pull up and check the amount of service intervals, right? Oh, I don't have my calculator because I'm using the phone. Well, if you were to take 70,000 miles and divide that by 15 services, that'll give you the average of miles per oil changes. Now, could somebody possibly reset the thing without changing the oil? Highly unlikely. You know, why would somebody do that? Spark plug service counter, 0. I just changed them, you know, a couple of months back. I haven't put that many miles on there. I'm going to go ahead and reset it to now. So no one is, this shows you that no service center ever changed the plugs. Doesn't mean that somebody who owned the car hadn't. But you can go through, here we go, micro filter, right? Reset. So you can go into using a tool like this and look and see, most of the time these cars are going to be serviced by Rolls-Royce, or at least a BMW service center, or some kind of a service center, somebody like Car Wizard, and he would know how to do this. You know, vehicle inspection. See, it's showing the last vehicle inspection that was reset on this car was in 11 of 2013, because whoever did it, they didn't do a dealer inspection. Just like when we just did the other thing, we did it somewhere else. So very, very cool. Do I want to exit? Yes. This is a very valuable tool. The alarm is telling me to make sure to remove this thing so that you don't leave it in your customer car. All right, look at that. The car is fully, completely, no check engine lights. All the fluids are good. Everything's rock and roll on it. Let's get it out of here. Beep, 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 beep. It's so annoying, but necessary so you don't run into the wall. This is always kind of weird to navigate this short little area here for turnaround. You got to do like 3 or 4 of these when you have a giant car like this. I don't know how they got their trucks in here. It's ridiculous. There we go.
Got Don back there hanging out with Videobob. Number 1, watch it go. Video.
Gorgeous. Look at that. No lights on the dash. Running perfectly. Everything reset. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So it's funny, I've done oil changes on my other cars, Rolls-Royces, other things like that in the past, and people always go on there and comment and they go, oh yeah, like I'm going to change the oil of my Rolls-Royce. You know, if you own a Rolls-Royce, you know, you can't afford to maintain it. Can't you take it to the service dealer? Blah, 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 blah. You're an idiot. The whole point of this channel and the whole point of this exercise here is to show you that you can, in fact, buy and own one of these cars and maintain it yourself for very little money. If I had taken this to the Tobin Rolls-Royce in Las Vegas, that little oil change procedure right there, first of all, I had to drop the car off, take a taxi or get a ride or whatever, and then I'd have to leave it there for a couple days, make an appointment, and it probably would have cost me $600 or $800 or more to have that service done. And I did it myself in like, what, an hour, not even. And it was, I think it's fun. I had a good time doing it. And, you know, it wasn't a big deal. So it probably didn't even cost $100. The filter's probably $10. Those air filters are 10 or 20 bucks a piece. Oil, you know, what was that, like 40 bucks or something for that whole thing? I mean, it wasn't expensive, right? And here I am maintaining this car, putting tons of miles on it, enjoying it and driving it every day. And it doesn't cost that much money. It really isn't. What does cost money is when you have to do major mechanical things, but you don't have to do them that often. Okay, this is a high mileage vehicle for a luxury car. Most luxury cars, when you get into, like, you know, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Maseratis, these kind of things, when you get up into 70,000 to 100,000 miles, that's usually kind of exceeding what they normally do on because most of the people that own these cars, they put 20, 30,000 miles on them, and then that's the end of their life. And then they sell it off to some bozo like me who's going to work on it. But I just wanted to point out to you that, like, you could have easily done that on a set of ramps. Now listen, that's pretty ghetto. If you're to the, if you know, if you're having to do ramps in the driveway, maybe you shouldn't have a Rolls-Royce. That's true. I admit it. Okay. But I've watched other great YouTubers, like, what's that dude's name? Gary Maver, I think it Mavers. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but a guy in Britain who's worked on his Silver Shadow, Corniche, or whatever it was. And he just did it all in his garage on some blocks and stands and did a fantastic job. You can do it. Not everybody has an oil pit or a lift handy. But the overall cost of this thing, maintaining the basics like the oil changes, not expensive, not difficult, no different than any other car, quite frankly. It was no more difficult than doing my Lexus, Toyota, whatever. It's not that big a deal. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of content, obviously you want to subscribe because I do this kind of stuff all the time. But if you want to know, if this is your first time coming here and you want to see more of these Rolls-Royce videos, go into my channel, go to videos, and then go up to the search bar and put in Rolls-Royce or Phantom. Rolls-Royce will show you my other Rolls-Royce cars. Phantom will just be on this one and my previous Phantom that I had before this one. And you can watch all the videos that we've done on doing the shocks and the brakes and the control arms and all the different things that we've done over the last few years of ownership. I'm probably going to keep this car for a very long time. I don't know when I would replace it. It's the combination I want. I like the silver color. I like the black interior. I like this darker wood. This is the Phantom for me. So maybe I'll replace it with a 2009 or 10 in the future because those have a few more features that I'd like to have. But otherwise, as I posted in my most previous video that I just did, talking about, you know, the things to look for about these cars, that'll show you some of the things that you want to look for when you're buying one of these. All right, it's a nice Saturday afternoon here in Las Vegas. I'm going to go pick up my friend and go have a very late lunch. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Videobob.
Hey, everybody watching Videobob.
Hey, everybody watching Videobob.
He's about fun, this guy. Look at the cars he has. Look what he brings you guys. Tune in to Videobob. Please subscribe and keep the good work going.
Hello, Videobob. Videobob.